Welcome back. A new rideshare platform has emerged in New York City, and this time the drivers are also the owners. Joining us now to share more are Erik Forman, co-founder, and Linton Kilpatrick, driver owner at the Drivers Cooperative. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having us.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course. Really happy to have you here to learn more about the Drivers Cooperative. So, for our viewers who may not be familiar, can you just share more about the Drivers Cooperative and your mission?
Yeah, absolutely. I can take a stab at that and then hand it off to my colleague Linton. So the Drivers Cooperative is pretty simple. We are a driver-owned ride-hailing company. So our competitors Uber and Lyft are owned by Wall Street and Silicon Valley investors, and their managers run the companies to make as big profits as possible for their outside investors. Our company is owned by the drivers. I helped get it started over the last roughly year and a half. I don't even have a share myself. I actually am a TLC licensed driver, so hopefully eventually I'll qualify to get a share. But our company is wholly owned by our driver owners, like my friend Linton.
Right. And Linton, I definitely want you to chime in here. Thank you, Erik, for sharing that. As a driver owner yourself, what inspired you to join the Drivers Cooperative? Can you share your story with us?
Okay, so I've been driving with Uber and Lyft since 2015. And as a lot of Uber drivers have had, there are instances where you're deactivated first without any communication, and then you have to go about the legwork of finding out what happened and rectifying the situation. The thing that appeals to me mostly about the Drivers Cooperative is that we're based on communication. So eventually is going to be a driver's board where if there is some type of infraction, they will reach out to you, and then you have the right to defend yourself. Nothing appeals to me more than that. And then secondly, it's the money. Mm-hmm. Uber takes a major share of your earnings. I'm not disparaging Uber about that, because there's just no disparaging the volume. Mm-hmm. But like I said, there's nothing that appeals to me more than being a master of my own destiny. Mm-hmm. If I'm the boot on the ground doing the work, then I should at least be given the opportunity to defend myself if there is something negative, which I try to avoid at all costs.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing, Linton. And Erik did mention this earlier, but all driver owners received a share of the company recently, or the cooperative, sorry. Can you share more about that and just the importance of having ownership of, where you work as well?
In the gig economy, all of us that participate in it, we're always the workers, and everything is kind of dictated down to us. Whereas in the cooperative, I feel that I can not only do I feel, I can see evidence of where my input has merit. Mm-hmm. And so to anybody in the gig economy, you want to become a part of what you do. Mm-hmm. And I want to thank Erik for giving at least me the opportunity to be exactly that.
Right. And Erik, if you wanted to touch upon that a little bit, just about how exactly Drivers Cooperative works, and just expanding on those benefits of having this rideshare in the Bronx in particular.
Well, I want to thank Linton and the 2,500 plus drivers who have decided to stand together and make this a reality, because the fact is that these gig economy companies, Uber and Lyft, what they are is the workers. Not just because drivers are the ones. People think that when they press the button on their phone, they're getting a car. You're not getting a car. You're getting a person driving a car, right? And that person in Uber and Lyft's, the way they see the world, that person is like an afterthought, or even, I hate to say it, but even disposable. Like Linton mentioned, these companies, they treat drivers like a like a renewable resource. It's like they treat drivers like you hire and fire constantly. And so Uber has this churn. They turn it into a gig instead of a career. What we're trying to do in the Drivers Cooperative is not just create a great company that can provide service for Bronxites. And by the way, Linton and I are both here in the Bronx. Happy to be able to serve our home borough and be highlighted on your show in our home borough. Not just create a good service for Bronxites at lower prices by cutting out the profit, but also create higher pay for drivers and profit sharing for drivers to make this into not just a good job, but a great job. Because the fact is, driving a cab in New York City in its golden age was a good, stable job you could raise a family on. You could even say it was perhaps middle class or a step into the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
Uber and Lyft, and I'll say it, the taxi medallion owners before them, they destroyed that. And so we're looking at, it's not just building a company, but building a movement to keep wealth in our communities, make sure workers get the value of their labor. That's very important to us. And try to make the world a better place. I mean, it's really that simple. Like Uber and Lyft's management gets up every morning. They think about how do we make as much money as possible at Wall Street. We get up every morning and think, oh my God, I worked so late last night. I'm so tired. But how do we make this a better job for our members? How do we make this a better industry for all workers? How do we contribute to our community? And a lot of that comes down to ownership. It comes down to money. So going to your question about the benefits, we figured out with Uber and Lyft's pricing, they're taking this big slice at every trip.
Mm-hmm.
So we figured out we can both decrease prices for riders. And we all know what it's like when you open your phone and all of a sudden that trip you used to take is $20 and now it's $40. You can't afford it. So we figured we can stop doing that and have lower prices, stable prices for riders. And at the same time, we can bump up pay for drivers and still have enough to float the company. Because we're not trying to make anybody rich here. We're just trying to create a good livelihood for everybody and provide a good service. So that's a big part of it. We reduce the commission to the minimum. Our pay is 10% higher, at least 10% higher in each trip than Uber and Lyft standard fares. We then, if there's profit at the end of the year out of that commission, most of it goes back to drivers, but we're taking a slice out too, and we're saying riders will be able to vote on allocating that to causes of their choice. Whether it's a community center or the arts or social movement organizations. And that's our way of giving back. Because frankly, this is only possible because people are coming together and making a choice that we want to make a change. Drivers are saying we want to make a change. Riders are saying we want to make a change. And everybody can do that now. All it takes for you to make this a better industry and keep more money in our borough is to download our app. There it is. Co-op Ride and request a trip.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erik, for sharing. And I'm so glad to hear that you're both from the Bronx and you're driving here, working here, and you're happy to be part of this cooperative. And I always, make it my business to just really big up workers' cooperatives in our communities because, it's about putting people over profit first and foremost. And I think that's an incredible way to do business in our community. So in the past, you have partnered with candidates to offer free rides to the polls. Are you doing it again for Election Day on June 22nd? Should we look out for any offers here in the Bronx? I'm not sure if you're doing it or not.
Yes, we have a few candidates who are partnering with us to help voters get to the polls here in the Bronx. Darlene Jackson and I believe Amanda Farias as well, and other candidates. So keep an eye out. You can go to our website to see all of our partners. That's drivers.coop/go vote. And keep an ear out for news from the candidates running in your district. Some of them will be notifying voters that they can get a free ride to the polls, courtesy of the Drivers Cooperative. And please vote. It's important for everybody to make their voices heard.
Absolutely. I know that Linton was part of the driver movement that drove people last time to their election poll sites. How was that for you, Linton?
It's awesome. I'm my primary job, I'm a network engineer where I get to speak to no one. And juxtaposed to that position is being a driver when you get to speak to everyone. And so all of those riders, we had enjoyable conversation. And you just learn a lot. And I was just happy to be able to provide a service.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. And, one thing that I want to kind of just discuss is there is a trend with taxi drivers and, Uber and Lyft drivers often, committing suicide or becoming depressed with their positions. Can you just talk about and emphasize the impact that the industry has had on a lot of drivers and how important it is to just put people first through a cooperative like the Drivers Cooperative to lower that?
Okay, I know that I have a definitive thought on it.
Mhm.
As a driver, well, those medallion drivers, right? They went into this and they believed what Erik said earlier about being able to support their family. And um, what was it in 2015? The the value of a medallion was like 1.5 million, and then in 2019, the value of a medallion was down to like 30,000. There were a lot of drivers that were upside down in those mortgages for those medallions, and they couldn't get out of it.
Mhm.
Um, and so that led to that depression. Drivers faced the brunt of that,
Yeah.
and so now what were they going to do? And that's where, as I read and have been told, that's what caused all of those suicides.
Yeah.
And so, today, it's a very different world, and there's a way out.
Mhm.
And hopefully, the drivers cooperative can be a part of that. And we're reaching out to drivers in order to give them another way.
Thank you. Thank you. And before we go, can you just share how people can learn more? And, if there's a driver listening who wants to join the cooperative, how can we do that? And how can we download the app?
Well, you can go to our website, drivers.coop. It's .coop, not .com, drivers.coop. And to download the app, there's a link on our website, or you can go to the App Store or the Play Store and just look up our app, Co-op Ride. I'll show it, take a look at it once again, just to make sure you got the right one. Here's the screen.
It's a beautiful app, by the way. Great interface.
Yes,
Awesome.
and
Thank
we're
you.
we're hoping to pick you up soon.
Yes, I'll be taking a ride over to the polls, I promise. Thank you so
Excellent.
much, Erik and Linton, for joining us today and sharing more about the Drivers Cooperative.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
Of course. We're taking a quick break here on Open BXRX Tuesday. We'll be right back.